Agency owners are getting in the car, they're driving aimlessly, they have no idea where they're going, and they're wondering why they haven't reached the goals, they haven't experienced the time and financial freedom that they got into their agency business to achieve.
Let's face it, guys, Google Maps is one of the most powerful pieces of software in the world, right? But it only works if you put in a starting point and a destination. If you don't have one of those things, then it doesn't really do anything at all, right?
In this video, we're going to walk you through the growth stages of an agency. There are different classic categorizations that every agency moves through. How fast you move through them is up to you, and how long you want to experience the pain and the heartache associated with each one of these categories is also up to you. So let's jump into it.
So our goal right now is to help you understand exactly where you're at and what your destination might be.
Right, so let's jump into the first one, feast or famine. Now this is periods of time where you're really busy. There's a feast, followed by periods of time where you don't know where the next client or the next project is coming from. So let's jump into the specifics of what makes someone a feast or famine agency. Annual revenue is typically less than $100,000 per year.
Absolutely, yeah. And these people are typically asking, like, where am I going to get my next client from, right?
Right, and the biggest problem that they face is not enough business opportunities coming to them. They have the bandwidth, they just don't have the business coming their way.
Yeah, they have the time, tons of time. They don't have money at this point. They just want more opportunities to work with more people, and they're ready to do that.
Right, so what do they need to graduate out of feast or famine?
Well, they need to generate leads. They need systems to generate leads. Most of them are just relying on word of mouth leads. They're relying on referrals from people they may have worked with in the past. That's super unpredictable, and it's not enough to keep somebody going full time. So they're looking for that extra lead generation they need to really make this thing.
Yeah, so the lack of systems is exactly what's stopping them from moving there. Now, when it comes to selling, it's typically a one-person operation, so it's usually the owner that's doing the selling, and the size of the team is just that one person doing all the work.
Absolutely. And in this stage, they're typically trading time for money, right? They have a lot of time that they can trade. They're not trading enough of that time. They would like to trade more of it at this point.
And when it comes to business systems and processes, there's a lot of reinvention, and things are done differently one way from one time to the next. There's not a lot of consistency. I know that if you're in the feast or famine stage, this is the stuff where you're feeling like there's an opportunity out there. It's just not coming my way. I wish I could trade more of this time that I have for money, so that way I could actually have more cash coming in, be able to see more results, and actually feel good about the business that I've got.
Feel a lot less stressed too, right?
Absolutely. So as you graduate out of feast or famine, then we move into jack of all trades. And this one is cool, really interesting to look at this way, because think of it this way. You're the jack of all trades, you're really busy. You're doing all of the work, but here's the thing, is you're probably not making enough money to really justify the amount of time you're actually spending inside of the business.
Yeah, these people are typically making 100 to 600,000 per year. You know, they've just graduated for feast or famine, so they've got lead generation in place, and now they're getting more work, and their whole business is set up around them doing that work, and so they get super busy.
Right, so the main question that they're asking is, how do I get more from the clients that I'm working with? I mean, you have clients, you have people that are buying from you, but how do we make sure we're getting the most from them? And the biggest problem they have is that they just don't have enough time.
Yeah, that's true. And so the goal here and the way that you graduate out of this is by having more leverage services, you know, to be able to delegate production to other people. That way you can keep selling and you can get that going.
Yeah, and that's what's stopping them, is that the lack of that leverage, the lack of the ability to delegate is keeping them from actually getting out of this phase. Now, again, just like feast or famine, the owner is probably doing all of the selling themselves, but this time the team maybe have grown a little bit. It's not just you doing all the work. There might be some people that occasionally you're handing stuff off to.
Yeah, and they're still trading a lot of time for money at this point, right? And they're scared to hand off those projects and delegate those projects because they're sending them to somebody, they're paying them, and then they're saying, gosh, that didn't turn out how I want. I still need to jump in on it, right? And that's because most of the processes that they have are still not very documented very well. They're still not done in a way that you can just hand it to somebody and expect to get a certain result.
Yeah, and sometimes somebody who's in jack of all trades begins to believe that it's not possible to delegate. It's not possible to give it to someone else because it costs too much, and when we give it to someone else, I end up having to redo it myself anyway, or paying so close of attention that they end up having to spend way more time on it than they should.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that had these visions of creating an agency, right, of having this time and financial freedom. They get to this point, and then they create that belief that they can't go further, right? That it's got to be all on them, and they lose sight of being able to actually create a team.
All right, so being jack of all trades is an awesome place to be because you have leads, there's some cash coming in, but you're so busy and you're like, what did I actually get myself into? Now, as you graduate, we're gonna move into scale and grow, and life changes quite a bit here in this phase.
Yeah, these people are typically making anywhere from 600,000 to 1.5 million. You know, they have a team around them. They've been able to delegate work. There's sales that are coming in, but the team is still dependent on the owner, right? The owner is still the all-star. Anytime anything goes wrong, they bring him in. Anytime there's a special, prospect, they'll bring him in. So the owner is still a very big part of the organization. And really, what they need to do to graduate is they need to build a sales team. They need to be able to delegate decision-making and authority to not be the person that has to answer every single thing as it relates to running this business. Right?
Yeah, but what stops them is actually letting go of those sales and trusting that there can be someone outside of them for the first time that actually can handle sales, bring them in, and for the dollar amount that they know that they could do themselves. Now, who's typically doing selling in this phase is what we call sales unicorns. It's the owner who's capable of doing those high ticket sales, but there's nobody else in the organization that can. There might be somebody else on the team that could handle the small sales or the stuff that's super easy and predictable. But when it comes to the important clients, the important jobs, if you want it sold for the right amount, it's going to be the owner that's going to do that. That's very typical of someone in this category.
Yeah, a lot of times you might have somebody that's like a sales assistant. Maybe they're helping to prepare the proposals, but you're not trusting them to go out there and actually close the sale at this point.
And the team is probably comprised of multiple contractors. You may even have some employees on staff as well to handle this. This is something that's much different than the other phases that we've looked at. In the case of time, we're trading a lot less of the owner's time for money, right? But the point is you're still trading a lot of time for money.
Yeah, in terms of business processes, you do have processes that are created, you have documented processes, and you have some delegation that's going on there.
Right. So scale and grow is a really great milestone to achieve, and a lot of agencies get stuck here, and there's a lot of stress on the owner. There's a lot of stress in making this thing work month after month because we have bigger teams, we have bigger commitments, we need more leads, we need more cash flow, we need to be more profitable. In order to break through into the next phase, which is agency pro, a couple things have got to change.
Yeah, so for agency pros, they're typically at 1.5 million or higher, and this is kind of the promised land, right? They've got somebody else that's doing the sales for them. They're now able to focus more on the business, and they're looking to get out of making all the decisions, right? They want to scale their decision making.
Yeah, so the biggest problem they have is the ability to scale their sales teams and their production teams. That there's leads, there's opportunities coming in their way, but they need the work to be done. They need someone to actually handle that stuff. What they need to graduate in order to really effectively make sure that this business is singing as much as possible is to develop the leaders within the organization, find distribution partners, vertical integrations, other ways to leverage your relationships to make sure that we're bringing in more cash, more opportunities, and being able to fulfill on that. But what's stopping them from doing this?
Yeah, typically what's stopping them is there's like complexity now in the organization, right? And the people that are doing the work, like they need to trim the fat. A lot of times things have just gotten out of control. You've thrown bodies at all the work that's coming in, and you need to just simplify things. Additionally, you need to have more one-to-many sales, right? Like it doesn't make sense anymore for the business owner to have a one-on-one sales opportunity with somebody. They need to go form a relationship with a franchise. They need to go form a relationship with somebody that's going to give them a lot of sales, because that's the best use of their time.
Right. Now, who's selling? Now, this is something where life looks pretty different because we have sales teams. We have people that are capable of bringing in projects for the dollar amount that it used to just rely on the agency owner. There's also, with respect to team, a leveraged team where the work that you're doing, you can scale up and down your agency depending on the work that's flowing to you. That you don't need to hire a bunch of new people just because you got more work coming in. You've figured out ways to effectively outsource the components and the commodity aspects of your business to be able to make sure that as you have more projects coming in, that you're not spending money on capacity.
Absolutely. And this is where you're trading somebody else's time for money, which is an awesome spot to be in, right? And so this is where we have really clear, defined SOPs and processes, and everybody's on the same page in terms of how things work.
The truth is every phase of an agency has the different problems and challenges and stresses, no matter if you're at Feast or Famine or all the way at Agency Pro. But I hope that this has given you a very specific idea around where you're at, what the pain points are, but most specifically, what you need to do in order to graduate to the next phase. Now, I'd like to invite you to join our Facebook community. This is a tribe of people who are moving through these phases, who are moving through the different challenges and issues that come about because we're all on the same journey together. Around this video, you'll see the opportunity to grab that link, jump in the group, say hello, introduce yourself, let us know what phase are you in? Are you feast or famine? Are you jack of all trades? You scale and grow, or you're an agency pro? This is a place where we all get to learn from one another. We all get to connect. We all get to help each other through the challenges.
This is not just any Facebook group, guys. This is a bunch of abundance-minded agency owners that are moving through all of these steps to create time and financial freedom for themselves. Our goal is for you to own your agency and own your life.
Right. So if creating time and financial freedom from your agency is important, if you saw something in this in yourself, come and join us. Let's get to know each other, and let's make sure we move you through the challenges and see where things go and how life can change for the better.
Let's do it.